Many people stay stuck for one reason. They treat their goals like a wish instead of a decision. Boy, that's a big one, right? Well, we often wait for motivation. We push off action. We wonder why nothing seems to change. And if you are tired of starting over and over and over again, I don't know why it was. Well, it's time to commit to a level that really guarantees progress. So we're going to get into all that great stuff today. But before we do, head over to talktoperry.com. That's where my calendar is wide open for podcast viewers like you. And if you're catching this on the audio, podcast listeners as well, because it's all about keeping your energy high. And I want to help you reach all of your goals by recharging your mental battery and your physical battery so that you can reclaim your power. I mean, how would your life look different if your mental and physical battery is running at 100% instead of like a 6-year-old smartphone with 2% battery life and no charger in sight? Talktoperry.com. All right, so let's talk about this. People say they want to reach a goal. And it often happens like at the beginning of the year, the resolution stuff. And then some people say, well, I'm not into resolutions. But people, we are goal-seeking mechanisms, right? Organisms. It's like, our brains are anyway. And when it comes to, taking time to take action, we often hesitate. We'll start, we'll stop, we'll start, we'll stop, and we get really good at the starting and stopping game. But the other thing is, people talk about what they're going to do, and that's all that happens. Months go by, nothing changes. So, and the reason for that is they're never fully committed. Now, I'm speaking from experience here. There's been many things in my life that I've gone after and then kind of made it more of a wish than making a decision. But when I finally made that decision, and I'm going to talk about health and fitness stuff in particular, making that level of commitment, well, it's much different. It's not just saying what you want. It's actually putting the action behind it. And a lot of times people don't put the action behind it. They'll dabble, they'll get, more of the busy work sort of thing, and they're kind of get into some sort of flow, but always looking for an escape hatch. Not necessarily consciously, but because they've gotten so good at letting themselves off the hook or giving in to external circumstances, well, then it's really easy to just go back to old ways. So if you are, really choosing and to, making that decision that you're going to do this, you're choosing a clear goal. You're setting a deadline. You're making a plan to actually follow through. And if you're not doing that, you're really not taking your goals seriously. Now, I know some people are like, well, I don't want to get bogged down into all those details, but ask yourself this. Am I really committed, or am I just interested? See, a lot of times people just get interested. We'll see an infomercial. We'll see a magazine ad. We're like, oh, I can totally see myself in that. We're interested, but we don't make the committed decision. When you make a committed decision, that means you're going to take action. Put a deadline on your goal. Put a deadline when you're going to start, a timeline when you're going to start, or a start date. Ask yourself, is my plan measurable, or am I just hoping for progress? There was a couple times where I've had conversations with people, and I'll ask them about their goal, and they're like, oh, I just want to tone up and lose some weight, and get in shape. I'm like, how will you know? Oh, I'll know. No, they won't. They'll just be hoping for progress. And really, most of the time, anytime I've checked back, usually the words I'll hear is, yeah, I need to get back on the wagon. They just haven't made the committed decision, because commitment is not just a feeling, or it's not a feeling. It's a decision. And if you're waiting to feel that motivation before you take action, I've talked about this a lot on this podcast, you're not in control. You're waiting for motivation. That was a big thing for me. After an hour commute home, after a long day of work, I found myself sitting down, telling myself I'm just going to unwind for a bit so I can get motivated to go do my workout. I never got motivated. The only way to see real progress is to make a decision and back it up with action every day. Now, I know you might say, well, Perry, I've already heard this already, or I already know what to do, but you're not doing it. You're not doing the action. So let me give you some steps to do, to take. You may want to bookmark this recording so you can come back and check it out again. If you're listening, maybe replay it again. But first thing is just to put a deadline on your goal. If there's no finish line, there's no sense of urgency. Okay. So one of my goals was, at one point was to lose 40 pounds. That was a goal of mine. Now, I didn't habitually get on and off the scale, because the scale to me at the time was more than just data. I had a lot of emotional attachment to it. But that was it. So I put my goal down. Next thing, choose a specific date when you expect to hit that goal. Whether it's, for you, it could be weight loss, it could be strength, it could be endurance. For me, it was my beer gut, which meant I was going to lose some weight there. So my specific date, I picked a start date, and I also picked how long I was going to do this for. And it was going to be for 90 days. For 3 months, I was going to do this. Now, my mind was looking for an escape hatch. How long are you going to be on this thing until you're off this thing? I'll get to that in a second. But if there's no timeline, you're going to keep pushing it off. As a matter of fact, I've got a new goal. I'm training podcasters. And I'm working with a mentor. And she said, when are you starting that? And as soon as things just started to shift for me as soon as I put a start date. Otherwise, it just became one of these things like, oh yeah, I'm getting to that. No, we're starting, and it's starting in 2 weeks. Boom, things are happening. Second thing for you, make it measurable. I know. For me, when I heard measurable, I'm thinking statistics, and I didn't want to get into all that stuff. I didn't want to get into tracking and stuff like that, But here's the thing that I realized, because when I got into that thinking, I realized I'm getting in my own way. A vague goal is just a wish. I want to get in shape and tone up. It means nothing. What does success look like for you? What does your ideal healthy version of you look like? Is it a certain number of workouts a week? Is it a performance goal? Maybe it's a body fat percentage. It could be something else, but make it so clear that you will know if you're off track and, or off, if you're on track or, falling off course. Make sure you do that. Next thing is to track your actions, not just your results. So it would be really easy just to check in at the end of each week. Did I lose weight? Did I lose weight? Did I lose weight? And then you can't always be in control, at least with this stuff. You can't always be in control of the speed of the progress, but you can be in control of whether you show up or not. That's a big deal. Like James Clear says in the book, Atomic Habits. I think he says it in the book, or maybe it's on his blog. Something to the effect of, in the beginning, when you say it's the beginning, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be a beginner, but when you're starting your plan, it's more important to develop the habits than it is to see the results. It's like, whoa, that's a mind-blowing thing for me, but it's so true. So if your goal is to work out 5 days a week, track that. My goal was to show up continuous 90 days. And I even included the rest days, the recovery days, because that was important. That was part of the plan. And I ran all 90 days. I didn't hit the 40 pounds. I got to 32. Do you think I quit and gave up? Now, I do have some friends that would have considered that as a failure, because that's their thinking. That's their paradigm. That was it. And then they went back to old ways. For me, I went, I'm good. I know there's some things I can improve on for this next 90 days, because I continued on. I didn't look for an escape hatch to stop. I'm looking for ways to improve. I paid attention to the journey. So if your goal is maybe it's to eat better, to have foods that fuel you, Track your meals. Focus on what you can do daily. Now, the big thing for me wasn't necessarily tracking the number of workouts necessarily or the number of reps. It was getting started in the gym. That was the thing, because remember, I was sitting down, trying to relax, trying to get motivated, and I realized that is not doing me any service because I'm not getting in there. I got rid of that sit down and get motivated time, and I just got into the gym. And so that was it. And once I got started, I made a commitment with myself that I would at least do 15 minutes. My goal is to do all 30, but my commitment was I need to show up and at least get 15 minutes in. And almost every time I would finish the workout because you just need to get started. The tracking was super easy. I put an X on my calendar. That was it. Now, some people will get all the details and how they felt and all that stuff. You know what? I'm going to keep it simple this round. I've done the other stuff where I've really kept diligent tracking. But in the beginning, I needed some habits of starting. So I put an X on the calendar. Speaking of calendar, my next tip here is to put your workout on your calendar. That's what I did. But when I got home, I was usually home by about 4:30. That was my workout time. That was my scheduled time. I didn't try to fit it in during the day. This is my time, right? If it's not scheduled, chances are, and you know, it does not happen. So treat your workouts like a meeting or like a doctor appointment. Block out the time. Don't leave it up to chance. Just say, this is what I do. This is part of it. So I just looked at it as an extension of my work day. Okay. Eventually I've changed things and I work out in the morning and do some other things, but that was it. I needed the habits. And another big tip here, and I have a lot of friends that I talk to that give into this. I know I do. It comes up. I've just become more aware of them, is to be unmoved by circumstances. Your to-do lists, your reasoning for giving up. There's always going to be a reason to skip. I would have that long hour commute home and I could talk myself out of working out and putting it off till the next day, or lots of things. I got a to-do list. I'm running a dog rescue. I've got this extra client that I've taken on. I have a home business here. I've got these other things to do. It was rainy out. It was cloudy out. You could all, the economy, whatever. It could be all those things. Long days, bad moods, whatever, busy schedules. None of that matters. And if you say it does, then you're defending a limitation. The only thing that really matters is whether you follow through. So if you'd like clarity on that, designing your own blueprint and really making it personal for you, head over to talktoperry.com. Instead of being like many people who bounce from thing to thing to thing all day long, draining their mental and physical battery, like I was telling you before, I want to help you recharge. I want to hear your goals. I want to hear what you're struggling through. And in 15 minutes, I can help you figure out the best direction and where you're going to get the biggest results. Talktoperry.com. I'm dropping it in the lower third there. Now, if you're listening, this is the video thing. It's just this little overlay, just like you see on the news. You could see it there in the video. Most people never reach their goals because they keep waiting for the right time. But there is no right time. There's just a decision. A lot of people think they're making decisions. No, they're just doing a wish. So if you want to really make real progress, commit to it fully. Pick a date, make it measurable, and take action every day. We can write things down in our calendar as much as we want. We can circle the date as much as we want. But if we're not taking any action and we're not developing the habits, things aren't going to change, are they? So the only question to ask you here is, are you serious about your goal? Or are you just interested in it? A lot of times we're just interested in the idea of it. And that's where it starts. I get it. But, you can choose to use your power and take control, or you can let the external circumstances and all of the things that go with it. Sometimes you won't even call it excuses. You'll call it justifying or rationalizing. You can let that control you and drain your power. It really boils down to deciding and committing to yourself and your goals and then taking action on them and then choosing to figure out new ways, looking at possibilities, learning and growing, and keep moving forward. You've got this, my friend. I'd love to hear your top takeaway from today. Drop that down in the comments. I promise I will reply and respond to you. And as always, remember, it's never too late. We'll see you next week. That's another Power Blast podcast in the books. Thanks so much for tuning in. And remember, when you are ready to recharge your battery, make sure you go to talktoperry.com. That's talktoperry.com. That's Perry. And I want to listen. I want to hear, what's going on. I want to help you in that 15-minute call to recharge your battery and reclaim your power so that you're off and running and creating massive momentum toward your dream. Also, every day, I am delivering more motivation, support, tips, and strategies inside my free community with amazing people like yourself. And we are conquering the mindset and the fitness. I do 52 weeks of free training in there. Plus, I coach and I mentor people, as well as give you access to tons of resources and guides. It's called my Upside Down Fitness community because we work on a lot of mindset stuff, the inside stuff. And we're a fun group of people striving to make healthier habits in this awesome chapter of life. So make sure you get in there. I promise you'll absolutely love it. Just head over to upsidedownfit.com and you can get into the group. And hey, you would be an awesome friend if you get over to iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast and leave an honest rating and review for the Power Blast podcast. It helps awesome people like you find this show even faster, and that's who I'm looking for, awesome people like you. That's all I have for this week, my friend, and just to let you know, you absolutely rock. That's all I have for this week. I'll see you on the next Power Blast podcast, and always remember, it's never too late. We'll see you next week.